Hello there, Common Wolf from here. First and foremost, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, since a lot of you are not subscribed, we have numbers on it. But Zelda's 35th anniversary, I have a problem with it. As far as we have seen, Nintendo has in the recent years, as we also touched upon in previous videos, don't celebrate the anniversary for quite some time, and now that we are in 2021, it just seems that we're gonna have to wait. Personally, I don't think we're gonna see much until, sadly, the launch of Skyward Sword. If we're lucky, then if Nintendo has a digital E3 presence. I'm not entirely sure about the second one though, because Nintendo doesn't like to attend digital events like Gamescom, and at Tokyo Game Show it was just Koei Tecmo that represented Nintendo through Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, but otherwise Nintendo was not participating in any way, shape or form. After the Nintendo Direct, which revealed Skyward Sword HD, I just think that they don't have to show much more. They already explained that they are changing the control scheme. They already showed quite a lot of the late part of even the game in the reveal trailer. It's very limited what more they want to say. They also were very careful with cherry picking the things that were less controversial and very good in the game. So that explains also why they might want to keep a little bit silent about this promo, maybe have one or two more trailers. They already revealed the Joy-Cons, and that also points to one of two things, that they really need to focus on this game alone and not other Zelda projects, because anything else might take away attention from Skyward Sword, and that's why they also might delay the Zelda 35th anniversary to after when the game is out. Not even acknowledging the anniversary, but maybe just mentioning, showing a logo, but not showing anything else beyond that point. Because obviously Breath of the Wild 2, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD is going to steal attention, because Skyward Sword is a very hard game to market. They always had a problem with this. Beginning from E3 2010, the motion controls have been a point of contention ever since that day and presentation, and it will take attention away from Nintendo promoting any other Zelda projects that they may have in the work. And that is the issue. We may get the logo, we may get the knowledge of the anniversary because of the fact that Skyward Sword was the Zelda 25th anniversary game, and it introduced the Zelda timeline and all this stuff. This is the type of things I think Nintendo will be pushing here, and then here's the Zelda 35th anniversary logo. But outside of that, I just don't see much else happening when it comes to this particular anniversary, and that most of the good stuff, the stuff that a lot of people are waiting for, that being either Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD on the Switch and the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, seems to be further out on the horizon. And specifically, I think sadly that we'll have to wait all the way until August. The reason why is that after Skyward Sword is out, this is also the time frame that we would have another Nintendo Direct. Say that there are no E3 Directs, then Nintendo is just going to skip that. And then usually when do they have the next couple of presentations? Well, we've seen something in August in the past. We usually have had a Direct in September, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two slots are going to be when Nintendo finally acknowledges the 35th anniversary, which is the moment we are all waiting for. We are excited for Skyward Sword HD. I will look forward to playing it. The Joy-Cons look incredible, but our attention is obviously beyond that, and Nintendo knows that all too well. They know that in order to sell Skyward Sword, we can't tell much about the other games, and that's why I think that Nintendo has just told the Zelda team that, you know what, you're not allowed to show anything else than this in particular. And it's also the fact that we have new hardware working on it, a Super Switch that is going to be much more powerful, and which these games that you're working on right now are going to take advantage of, with crisper detail, better handheld experience with OLED and so on. And thus the Nintendo has just said, you know what, we're just going to hold back these games. We know you have footage to show, but we have to think about this from a marketing perspective. We need to be able to sell these games or one after another, first with Skyward Sword HD, then either with Breath of the Wild 2 or with Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD. Everything depends of course on where Breath of the Wild is in the development. Like what we showed in our map changes video is how much needs to go out of the game, and how much of this also was based on, say, physics puzzles and so on that needs to be replaced and added. And we know how much troubles the physics engine caused in the development of Breath of the Wild. It wasn't the engine itself, it was more the puzzles and mechanics that were impacted by the engine, the weather mechanics. But the details about the new Switch model don't only leak when it comes to a Samsung OLED 14-inch 720p display, but also in regards to its system on chip from Nvidia, as Bloomberg and the Ace Gaming Insider journalist Takashi Mochizuki has now reported that the new Switch model will release later this year, be Nvidia DLSS upscaling AI technology equipped, have a better CPU and more memory, and launch with plenty of games, and then with more to come in the coming months." End quote. We already know of Pokemon Legends Arceus and Splatoon 3 in 2022, but one game, the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, seems to be more and more likely later this year. Yes, in 2021. After all, Zelda series producer Eiji Numa has promised us more Breath of the Wild 2 content later this year. There really seems to be a later this year thread here. After all, new Legend of Zelda and Switch hardware model possibly releasing hand in hand later this year. And it wouldn't be the first time. 2017, 2019, and now likely 2021, especially when it is a new model that will make the game look and run better compared to the base model 2017 and the revised 2019 Switch. But here's the issue. Possible Breath of the Wild sequel holiday 2021 release with a new Super Switch model would come less than 5 months away from Skyward Sword HD. And if these two are confirmed for the holiday before July 16, then you know full well that with its many flaws and anti-open world design, most Zelda Breath of the Wild newcomers will simply skip Skyward Sword HD and wait the last few months for Breath of the Wild 2. After all, 2021 until August is very port and remake heavy from Nintendo's first-party studios. Much like 2020 post-March 2020, which had one new Nintendo-developed game, Paper Mario Origami King, and now we see a slow 2021 until September with only Mario Golf Super Rush as the new Nintendo IP game. But after that, we might see a floodgate of system sellers in the end of 2021 and throughout 2022, with potentially the big three, Breath of the Wild 2, Pokemon Legends, and Splatoon 3 before the end of summer 2022. But before revealing the Switch Pro and bringing back Breath of the Wild sequel, Nintendo will do their utmost to sell as many base model Switches as possible, since they know the moment the two are brought out in the light, the sales of the regular Switch will dip and Skyward Sword HD might not even take off in the first place. Because players around the world will be holding off and jumping on the fence for the Switch Pro and Breath of the Wild 2. Hence why I don't disclose the shortest reveal, return to release cycle for both. August or possibly even September to a release in November or December. This way, until the reveal of the new model and the return of Breath of the Wild 2, Nintendo can sell enough Switches and Skyward Sword HD copies. As at the end of the day, it all comes down to marketing and money for Nintendo throughout the year. Where revealing a new Switch model and bringing back Breath of the Wild 2 too long before their releases will only harm their Switch sales and the sales of Skyward Sword HD, since players around the world will jump on the fence and wait. Due to this, Breath of the Wild 2 and Zelda's 35th anniversary are the hostages in this situation until at least August. But then again, it is the wait for a better looking and running Zelda in the end. Well, hopefully. But it could be at a price, up to $399 if we are to trust analysts if we want to play the best version of the game. But that is my biggest hope, of course, that we get a holiday dual release of Switch Pro and Zelda, and based on the production numbers, it seems that at least one of them, the Nintendo Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, I like to call it the Nintendo Switch Nova, comes out around this window when it is revealed, say in August, because we know the production is going to, of the displays are going to start in June, and delivered to Nintendo in July, so it makes more sense than to reveal it in, say, in the August-October timeframe for a holiday release. We can also look at history here. The Switch was revealed in October, and then we got a March launch. While revisions don't need as much time to promote, build, have special presentations and everything. Nintendo Switch Lite was revealed in the summer and was out just 1, 2, 3 months later, and I think the same thing could be the case with a Nintendo Switch Pro, and the same they could also do with Breath of the Wild 2. They can hold it back because everyone knows what Breath of the Wild was. They have played it. It's just look at the sales numbers of Breath of the Wild, which would be a nice development if you ask me. By that time, it's also possible that Nintendo has been able to produce enough, at least to an extent, Nintendo Switch Pros. This could also be impacted if they want to do Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD first, but I just always have a feeling that a system seller is kind of more important when you launch a new revision, even though Nintendo Switch Lite launched obviously with Link's Awakening HD. There is a problem when it comes to this anniversary, and it ties to everything from Skyward Sword HD, Switch Pro, how far the game is in development, to Pokemon Legends Arceus, which Breath of the Wild 2 is going to overshadow in terms of technical and graphical fidelity, based on, you can just compare the two reveal trailers and you're immediately going to see that one definitely looks better than the other. That's what I think is the big problem about all of this, and I also wanted to talk about another thing, and that is, if you're watching these videos, there's no better way to support me than to like these videos and subscribing. That's pretty much all I had to say about this whole situation. Hope you enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos. Alright then, have a good one.